can, there we go. More.
Recording in progress.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Tips and Tricks SIG. Tonight's format will be, typically we'll have our open forum, and then we could go into the topics which I had sent out. And hopefully we can make through enough of that tonight before people start to leave to go watch the debates. So that being said, who'd like to open up the floor with the first question of the evening? Nobody. No questions. Oh, come on, guys. Jim, you're muted. Mute. Jim, you're muted.
All right, there we go.
There you go.
I'm having trouble remembering which way the icon's supposed to be. On the invite, and you've had this up for a couple of meetings, that you're looking for a couple of presentations.
Yeah, small little ones, little things.
When you say a simple presentation on using Excel,
right?
So 8 or 10 years ago, I found a template online for a checkbook register.
Okay.
So I use that, and I've used it for a number of years. And the template's basically there, but I've done a couple of expansions to it. Is that the kind of thing that
perfect
you're thinking about?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You could, share that template and show us on a dummy screen how you use it. Meaning, I don't want to see your actual checkbook.
Yeah. Well, that's the
how you
tricky
use
part.
it,
Yeah.
and how it works for you. I'm not looking for anything big, just like that. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. And you could do that at either west side would be perfect, but if you want to do it here, you could do it here. We'll let you do it right now if you want.
No, I'm not ready to do it yet.
Okay. All right.
Because I have to get a sample put together.
Okay.
I don't remember whether the template came with some numbers built in as a sample or not. So
okay,
I'll check that out.
And just let me know what month you want to do it.
Okay.
Even if it's 5 minutes long, that's perfect. 10 minutes, great. And I will bet you everyone here will find the value in it. So thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Okay. No questions. Nobody's got questions. Everybody's got computers that are running so smoothly.
Well, my computer wasn't running smoothly. I did have an issue that probably originated with Microsoft updates in August.
Okay.
But it could have been other things. Let me come on. I had some difficulty that started out as I knew I was possibly going to have problems booting USB because there are some secure boot changes. And on some computers, it doesn't detect that you're dual booting with Linux because, in my case, my Linux is booted from USB external on this computer, the NUC. The other computer, there's an internal secondary drive. It was detected as dual boot, so I have no trouble with any USB boot in there. But in the NUC, it applied the update which blacklists some of the Linux bootloaders. And most Linux, once it's installed, is perfectly okay, and many of the installers are perfectly okay. But Ventoy, which is used for multi-booting on a flash drive, did not survive. It cannot be used at present. Version 1.99 cannot be used with the Secure Boot and the SBAT blacklist, which was just introduced in August. So that was problem number one. But then I had a cascading series of disasters with first one app, then another could not recognize my webcams. And I had done a driver update, rolled back, did all kinds of other things, no go. Well, today, Windows Defender, I tried to open it, the interface was blank, pure white, nothing came up. I tried every fix online, took probably half the afternoon, nothing. So I took Macrim Reflect. I said, okay, in July, everything was okay before the August updates. Rolled back to that. And I spent the rest of the time up until, well, 15 minutes before the meeting, getting everything brought as far up to date as I needed to in order to come to the meeting. I still have a little bit to bring up to date. It's just various software. And I need to import my more recent data. Otherwise, it survived quite nicely, and I must say Macrim Reflect did a good job, and it was pretty quick.
So this screen that I'm showing here is Windows Defender. You said
No,
this,
it isn't.
okay.
Go to your tray icon and go to the Security Center.
Okay. All right.
Go to your tray icon and
Right
try to
there?
pop up the Security Center.
Bear with me a second. All right, let me share this screen then.
You know, the little shield and everything that comes up with
Yeah,
it.
hold on, somebody's coming in.
All right, good.
Multiple things here.
We can use a few more people.
Yes, we could. All right, so this is
That one.
Windows
That-
Security.
That screen was pure white and blank.
Really?
Yep. I could not pull anything up. And I tried every online suggestion for fixing it and resetting all the store apps and whatnot. Nothing, nada. So I don't know what did it, but something removed some component or components of Windows Defender. And so I rolled back to how it was in July. The webcams were working, the Windows security was fine, except that it needed to scan and update. Yours needs to scan. But anyway, oh no, yours doesn't have automatic sample submission. So that may be a personal choice.
That's a personal choice.
Yeah. But in any event, it got to the point where everything was okay. So then I very carefully started updating. I don't normally apply Windows updates at this point in the month, but that's what I had to do in order to get any kind of a cumulative update. It's going to be September rather than August.
Mm-hmm.
And so on and so forth down the road with all the other updates. And everything survived. I got my Malwarebytes, which is actually, it's not a beta, but it's version 5, which does not automatically update in the free edition. So I got that updated and updated everything that was critical to cleaning up and keeping the place secure. Got Zoom updated and all that. So it really wasn't that big a deal if I had gone directly to the rollback. I think I would have been talking about maybe an hour's worth of work. But I spent the whole afternoon trying to fix things and then finally said, the heck with it. There's enough wrong with this. It probably ought to be reset. And this is preferable to having to do a full Windows reset and reinstall everything.
So you did, you used Macrium Reflect to do this, correct?
Yeah. And then it booted me into the WinPE outside of Windows environment.
Were you a little nervous about doing this restore?
It's been a while since I've done it. I've never done it on Windows 11.
Okay.
There's always a possibility something won't work or something will be out of sync. But this time it worked like a charm. Everything was just fine. I updated the time, I updated security, and Windows was happy. And then I updated my drivers, and the only thing that won't update is the very most recent Intel Bluetooth driver. For some reason won't install on my hardware. Probably it's not relevant. So I hid it.
Okay.
That's from the Intel Driver and Support Assistant. I hid that one.
Okay.
So I'm using, it's listed as a driver. I have it selected, but I haven't tested it to see if it's working.
Okay.
If it isn't working, I have the previous 2 drivers, one of which is from Microsoft.
So since I got this screen up, maybe we can just walk through what some of the parts of the screen are. So for
All
those
right.
who never visit this area, the very first thing here is that I have here that's got an exclamation point is automatic sample submission. I have it turned off by choice, but you can turn that on. That is if you can. I presume this is if I caught a virus.
No, it's if there's anything unrecognized that it doesn't know what it is yet.
Okay,
It'll be submitted.
got it.
The other thing you can do is you can just dismiss that and it won't show up anymore.
Okay. Ooh, uh-oh. I'm gonna blow it up.
Well, you may have to be the administrator to do that.
Yeah. All right. And then the next.
And you can also click on that that shield item and see the rest of your settings for the Windows Defender.
Ooh, there we go.
So you can do your scans, you can do your updates. I do manual updates because I'm not sure mine updates automatically. So it's just check for updates. I have ransomware protection set up and it's a pain in the butt. If you're ever installing free software, that ransomware protection is a royal pain. So anyway, I have it on. And then there are various settings. And one of the settings you can do is to either submit or not submit samples.
Okay. Since we got this up here, we got the current threats, and it says underneath it's quick scan, scan options, allow threads, or allow threats, and protection history. So let's go through these. We got a quick scan.
It ain't that quick.
Yeah, it takes a few minutes.
Yeah, that would be doing a quick
I
scan
got
of my system
probably
on here.
a smaller drive than you, and it took 15.
Right. This is only a 500 gig SSD.
5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
5 to 10 minutes if you weren't running Zoom.
Right. So I'll hit the stop on that. And then scan options. Let's go through this.
Let's also go down as far as Microsoft Defender offline, because not many people know what that is.
Okay.
You can do a quick scan, you can do a full scan. Custom scan lets you select which folders to do.
Okay.
A quick scan only checks the most vulnerable areas according to Microsoft. A full scan will do all of your files and take probably overnight. And Microsoft Defender offline. That's a peculiar thing that they retained from, I think it was Giant Software. And it just simply can check for malware if you think you've got something that is hiding when Windows is active. It takes you offline and then scans with the operating system totally inactive. And it may find stuff that cannot be found any other way. Rootkits are like that.
Okay.
And bootkits. But if you have your firmware infected, no, you're not going to find that.
Now, is this similar to, what was that, Microsoft Safety Scan?
No,
MSC?
No, MSCRT is a different scanner,
right.
which you can also use offline, or you can use it online. And it's just one step up from the monthly or once every several months. Microsoft, the scanner that comes in with Microsoft Update that most people don't even pay attention to, myself included, because it never shows anything. So there's the malicious software removal tool. The next step up is the safety scanner. The next step up is Defender offline. And then there are several specialized scanners from other companies which can do even more offline.
So which is the best product of those that you mentioned? Is it the Defender offline scan or safety scanner?
They each have their uses. Since they're quick, I would run all three. The safety scanner I run in a full scan mode, because otherwise, if you are offline, it will only scan the file system that's in memory, and that's no good. you
Correct.
do want to at least scan the C drive.
Also, quite often when it comes to utilities, more than one is desirable for finding things versus trying to pray that one utility will do everything needed.
Yeah. I always use Malwarebytes free as a secondary scanner on demand because it will find other stuff. They have an adware cleaner at Malwarebytes, and that finds different stuff, just annoyances that you might want to get rid of, and that could slow down your PC.
Okay, so I have here, I went to the Microsoft, I just put
Yeah.
in the Google, I just started looking for Microsoft Safety Scanner download.
Correct.
And this
And-
came up for anyone that's never used this tool before. This is directly from Microsoft.
Scroll down 2 lines and you'll find there's a 32-bit and a 64-bit version.
Yes.
You'll
So-
normally do a 64-bit unless you have an old computer.
You mean a 32?
Yeah, if you have a 32-bit computer, that's going to be old.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
they stopped making 32 bits about 5 years ago.
Okay, so we're using, you'll want to download the 64-bit version.
Yeah.
And then I believe all you need to do is you load it onto your desktop and then choose run,
Yeah,
right?
there are 2 ways you can do it. You can load it onto your normal Windows desktop and run it from there.
Mhm.
But because it's a standalone, you can also put it on a flash drive that can boot into something else. I put it on the one that does Macrim Reflect. And I have a little folder called Scanners. And so that turns that into a multi-utility drive. I could just as easily put it onto Ventoy, although it's not an ISO. I think I would probably run it from something that has WinPE, something like that.
Okay.
And that usually will be your various recovery utilities.
So as it states here, this is just another tool to use for scanning your hard drive.
Right.
That it's only, the database in it is only good for 10 days.
Right.
So after you've used it, run it on all your machines all the time, run it on all your machines, and then discard it when you're done.
Yeah. Download it fresh each time.
Right. So this,
It will try to update itself, but you can't count on it.
okay.
Oh, Windows Defender offline. Windows
I
Defender.
apologize. Could I trouble you to just run that by me one more time?
Yep.
What's going to be good for 10 days?
The Microsoft Safety Scanner, MSCRT.
It's right here at the top.
This tool does not update its database, so it's only good for 10 days.
Okay.
Because when you download it, it includes the database that's active at that time.
Yeah, it's an all-in-one. Windows Defender offline will seek updates, but I wouldn't count on it. Well, actually, it's okay. It does occasionally update itself. And the malicious software removal tool, you take what they get. You get what they give you. It doesn't update every month, but it updates frequently. And it's just the malware which is most prevalent at any given time in the wild. It's not a complete database.
And what's the advantage of using this product over Defender?
These will scan outside of the operating system. Why is this important? Because then Windows services are not running. Those can be hijacked by malware. And malware can call itself something that looks like a Windows service, even though it's not. And various malicious processes will be stopped, and they won't be able to defend themselves. Because just as you have anti-tampering in many antivirus programs, some malware has anti-tampering. Ransomware you won't be able to crack with this.
Okay. And let me put that link, I'll put that link in the chat so everyone can find that.
So there are basically 3 different kinds of scanners. There's installed, there's standalone, and there's offline.
Thank you, Bob.
Well, I do have a question.
Yeah,
Early on, he mentioned ransomware.
yeah.
Yeah.
What is that? What's the purpose? And where do you get that? I know, okay, so doing some research on Macrim Reflect, I noticed that they have ransomware protection or as part of their package, but what's the overall purpose? Why would I want that?
By the way, ransomware protection usually only protects critical system folders to prevent your computer from getting locked up. What ransomware is, the goal of ransomware is to lock your computer so that you cannot log in, you cannot run anything, you cannot, in some cases, if you pick it up while you're running the computer, you may not be able to shut the thing down. You are completely unable to perform any operations because there is a lock on that drive, just as though somebody put BitLocker on it and then lost the key.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you there for a second. So, that sounds pretty terrible, but for somebody like me who, doesn't run a whole lot of stuff on my computer to begin with, not that losing a computer is really, nobody wants to do that, but why couldn't I just say, okay, that computer's dead, go out and get another one, take my backup and put it on there and off I go? Or is there more to it than that?
Well, all you would need to do is replace the drive. But
Okay.
most people do not back up their data frequently enough to be totally immune to the effects of ransomware. Corporations don't have their data backed up enough or their systems backed up enough. There have been several recent examples where corporations and public utilities have been hit and they've been out for days or weeks. It is no joke.
Right. The company I worked for was had that happen to them in a smaller way, but yeah, so.
Toyota, for example, has a back-end deal piece of software that serves most of their dealerships in New England and elsewhere. 15,000 dealerships, I believe it is. And it's all tied into this one company. That company got hit, their servers got hit by ransomware from a Russian group, a Russian-tied group. And they started trying to bring everything back online after they thought they patched and after they thought they paid these guys off. And as they were bringing things back online, the guys hit again. Kept the whole system offline for over a month and made a backlog of orders that is still being processed. It hit their repairs, it hit their sales, it hit their parts. It hit my repair, even though it was an independent shop, because there are no aftermarket parts for some Toyota parts. So it caused about a 6-week delay for me.
Okay, so back to the question. So basically, if ransomware were to hit my computer, it's basically just shutting down my computer and so long computer. But okay, so ransomware, do you run it from Macrium or how do you do that?
It's just part of the program, and it's like Windows Defender has its protected folders, and there's enough protection so that many common ransomware schemes can't lock those folders.
Okay.
So your system will keep running. It won't protect you against a 0-day or a very clever group or anybody who's state sponsored. Some country sponsors them or something. If you have a group that operates at a level where they are effectively an arm of, say, Russia or Ukraine's government, there's not much you can do. In some parts of the world, hacking is encouraged by the local governments.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Our government doesn't like it.
So what's the chances or likelihood that the common person like you or me is going to get attacked by a ransomware?
The chances are rising.
Yeah.
It used to be that we hardly had to worry about it. But because of the severity of what can happen, it's one of these things where even if the chance of you getting hit is 1 in a million, do you want to suffer the consequences if you're the one who gets hit?
See, early on, we're going back several decades, you had amateurs learning how to hack systems, make malware, etc., etc. they finally started developing ransomware, and they attacked anybody for a long while. So the risk went way up, and then it started coming down because they focused on businesses, government agencies, etc. And then lately, it's been going back up to hit anybody because the businesses and government agencies are getting better and better at trying to protect themselves.
And what they're always after is either a payoff or your financial information. And just because it's ransomware doesn't mean there isn't also some kind of an uploader that uploads your data. There can be combined attacks.
So are you saying that AV programs like Bitdefender wouldn't necessarily catch a ransomware attack?
Bitdefender has very good ransomware protection, but it may not get anything that's 0-day or anything that's really sophisticated.
Okay.
Zero day means that I just made it and nobody else knows about it, but I turned it loose and infected everyone
Right.
here at this meeting.
Or I just made a new variant and it's just different enough that the antivirus companies don't have a definition and their cloud heuristics don't work on it.
Right.
Heuristics, by the way, is a way of using AI to determine whether or not the behavior of a program or a computer seems to be malicious.
Great topic. Great topic. Next question, new direction? Okay, so go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I sent out a list of topics. We can jump right into those if people want.
I've got a query for people.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm working with the grammar school on a STEAM program. And I got 4 new laptops for this class. Windows 11. Now, I need to install software on them. I've got admin rights, but the teacher that built them initially put a student name on. I'm looking at it, they're all admin, which I know is not good and should never happen, especially for a student that is in K through 12. So I've got permissions to make changes, so I'm going to make a leader and a teacher user on them that will be admin. And I'm going to revert all the kids down to the kids' usernames down to regular user.
Right.
Now, two things I want to do is I got to install software on these guys. I know when I install software, I can say using the admin for all users of the machine, which is easy. That's an easy way of doing it. But the other thing is is there any way that I can designate users as being minors in Windows 11 easily?
There are parental controls.
It's under parental controls?
There are parental controls available.
Yes. Family accounts.
Family account. Family account.
Okay.
Pete, doesn't the school have an IT person?
I'm better than the school IT person.
Well, hear me out for a second.
You're free.
I'm not saying denying that, but are you letting their IT person first work on the laptops and get them so that she approves of the status of what they are, what's in them, and then giving you the rights to go ahead and move forward on it?
Okay, so they're not putting them on the school programming network.
Okay.
They're not bloating these machines with all the school software for all the various grades.
Okay,
These are brand new. They just got, the four just got purchased at Costco. They're laptops. They're threes with a half a terabyte drive, SSD drives, 12 gig of RAM, 14 inches, basically low end. And basically these are for like Arduino and for some of the other Steam type programs so that we can do the after school class. They're
Mhm.
dedicated to the after school class.
okay,
So I've got parental permissions on a signed slip saying that they can go to certain sites for the class. So that like Autodesk, I can create a classroom in Autodesk for Tinkercad and stuff like that. And they have their own passwords and stuff like that, the kids. I just want to protect further because I don't know how tightly the one teacher that is doing this work actually locked them down. So family accounts might do it to make me comfortable to just say that user, there's only 4 users right now because there's 4 PCs. And they're all 4 users are going to be across all the PCs, all the laptops. Plus the teachers in the leader accounts. And the school will get all the passwords. So they can get into these things before and after, and they're gonna basically hold on to the laptops. You're gonna charge them between the 1 day a week we use them.
okay.
Yeah, and in between when the students are using them, the browsers and other places in the PCs, in the laptops, should be looked into to see whether they're doing anything they shouldn't.
They probably will. But
Otherwise, I think you can trust the students. They're not going to be too bad.
Don't.
I mean, yes, you will have to put some restrictions on certain kinds of sites, but beyond that, you can trust them as long as you have your eyes on them.
Not
and as far as
kidding,
you
because
control,
I used to be a substitute teacher about 15 years ago, and trust me, those kids are smarter than you think, and they bring in flash drives to be able to boot up and run games, just for starters.
well, they were able to bypass the school's firewall last year.
Oh, okay. Well, the school obviously needs a better firewall, but anyway.
So, yeah. So parental controls at least will reduce the overall exposure, I hope.
Yeah.
And right now, the only browser on there is Edge, and I may put Chrome on there because I might need it for some other stuff. But Edge is a Chromium browser anyway.
Yeah. One thing you do need to do, however, is have the network set up so that it does not allow access to the kinds of ports and the kinds of external connections that could lead to some serious issues.
I think it's a school network. So I think they have that done.
Well, it wouldn't hurt if they would double check.
I can ask the admin over there,
Mhm.
the teacher and the principal to do that.
Yeah. Usually what
But what they want me to do is give them a whitelist for the sites they're going to go to.
that might work. If you blacklist everything and only whitelist the sites they can go to, that would be one way. I'm pretty sure they'll figure out a way around it, but
Yeah.
anyway, most networks that think they might have some issues use what are known as edge appliances, which are hardware firewalls, and those can be set very discreetly.
Yeah. I don't know how which particular part of their network we're going to be attaching to,
Yeah.
because I haven't fired one up on their network yet. but
So
I know
did you
they're
buy,
attached.
Pete,
they-
Pete, did you buy these PCs?
No, no. They're like $600 a crack. There's no problem there.
Yeah.
They do have, Windows 11. They seem to work. I'm going to see if they can
Mhm.
run Arduinos on them. Plug in an Arduino and make sure they got enough power to at least program the Arduinos.
So why did you feel they needed new machines just to do this?
I
Couldn't they do-
didn't. I
Oh.
didn't. They moved us out of a room that had desktops with monitors and keyboards because which was air conditioned. They moved us out of.
He's freezing up a little.
Yeah, Pete froze a little. Maybe he'll come back.
Maybe that's because Santa Claus is in a very cold climate.
Santa Claus is in a hot climate right now.
Yeah.
He heard you, Tim.
It's showing me that my internet connection is unstable. I'm wondering if the bandwidth is used up by the people
Government.
going on for the debate.
Could be.
It's either that or the Midwest is flared up. The Mideast, I mean.
Middle East. Okay.
So they needed that room for desk space for their part-time high school teachers to use. So they're pushing us into the library and they're giving us, we got a big flat screen TV. We got everything we need. I'm just, and they only could afford 4 computers. It's a small school.
Are they going to be learning programming, the kids?
We're going to be using Arduinos and the Arduino IDE, microprocessors,
Actually,
and some other stuff, and Tinkercad and stuff like that.
Adrenos are microcontrollers versus.
Okay, sorry, I
Raspberry
misspoke.
Pi.
I misspoke. I stand corrected. You can whip me 25 times with a wet noodle. If you can get a noodle to get from where you're at to here.
That's a long noodle.
That's a long noodle.
That's a long noodle. So what is the intention of these Arduinos? What are they going to be doing with them?
They will probably be doing something like RC planes or lighting or controlling relay circuits or something along those lines. I let them figure that out.
Mhm.
So I've got probably 8 kids in the class. 2 of them they're going to share the 4 computers by pairs.
Are you teaching this class?
I am the leader of this class.
A leader. Ooh. That's good. That's nice of you to do this.
I have a soft spot for the scouts and for kids. Now, last year was a little tough because they were 6th graders and they were just starting to change and they were a little rambunctious.
Yeah, always full of energy at that age.
And you think now that they're in 7th, they will be less rambunctious?
They may have a little bit more self-control.
Having spent 36 years in a classroom, I'm going to leave that to you to determine.
Yeah.
Just an observation. I have the highest regard for you and your skills with the kids. When you have 8 kids, that's one thing. But in New York, typical class size can be 30, 32, 30.
Mhm.
The
So
whole
I'm
high
sure
school
you're-
class here is 25.
Your experience will be different, I'm sure.
I'm for sure it's different.
Thanks, Harry. I like that. That worked great.
I lost self-control. I apologize.
Mm.
Oh, that's great.
Uh,
Okay.
Sanford,
Shall we go in a new direction?
Sanford, by the way,
Yes.
You got, like, the two Bobs, you got two Harrys.
Okay, we got two. That's true. We do have two Harrys. Okay, so I sent out a list of topics. This included some from last month's meeting that we never got to, and some that I added in for this month. So feel free to take a look at them, and if need be, I can re-put put it into the notes. Let's see.
I have it on my other PC with the email off.
Let's see if it let me. Doesn't.
Well, there is one about which Wi-Fi frequency you should use.
Okay. We could go into that one. Just
And what you should use these frequencies for, I'm pretty sure.
let me first find. I want to figure out how to add this file to this. No, that's not it. What's this one do? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What'd I do? Oh, I did a screen capture.
Captured the screen.
Okay,
instead of
I was trying to throw it in the chat, and I'm not sure what the heck I'm doing over here.
Mhm.
Pop out. More. Save chat now. Okay. So that being said, I will just do this. And do that. Might be more than what, yeah, there's more there than I can physically throw in the chat. So you're only going to get a few in there. Oh,
You don't have.
it doesn't like them at all. I got too many lines of words in there. So let me just take this completely out of chat.
You don't have it as a document.
Right. I was going to just send it directly, and that ain't going to work.
No, the chat format isn't good for that.
And I was trying to figure out a way. I forgot how to put a document in text in chat.
Just
I'm not.
drag and drop.
Chat has at the bottom left icons, and it has file, it has screenshot, it has file in the middle.
I usually don't have to use that. I use just drag and drop from File Explorer down to the chat area. That's it.
Let me do.
Yeah, that could work.
Let me do that.
I think when they first started making that change to the interface, I had to use that little file icon that you're talking about.
Yeah.
For one or two times that, and after that, drag and drop worked.
Okay. First thing I got to do is close the one I have open. Now I can send it. Here it is.
Well, it's
There
past
it is.
9 o'clock.
Sorry. What's that?
It's past 9 o'clock.
No, it isn't.
No, it isn't. You got clocks are wrong. Maybe out east. No, it's only 7:45 here. Okay, so I sent out a list of topics, and you said what channel my Wi-Fi frequency is on.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Wi-Fi.
Fourth one.
Yeah.
In mine, that's the third one.
Right.
No, it's you're correct.
I got it.
Back, third one.
Take me a bit. All right, so first thing that need to be discussed is you got 3 bands that are available. 3, and I'm showing 4 fingers. 3 bands that are available. On most routers, it's 2, unless you got a new one that has the 6 gigahertz. So they all have the 2.4. They should have a 5 gigahertz, and the new ones have the 6, so that would make them a tri-band. And they show us here I don't know why they're showing these cute little pictures what the 2.4 and 5 look like, but
Those are typical kinds of routers that are
oh,
used
right,
with them.
and how they look.
The older routers are the ones with the antennas sticking up. Then there's a newer type of router, and there's the very newest, which is
Right.
for Wi-Fi 6.
Wi-Fi 6 enabled, right.
And that
So,
gives you the 3 bands. Although there's really several 5 gigahertz bands.
okay, so we have 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, and to kind of boil it down quickly, 2.4 is the most common denominator. Most devices, if not all devices, can connect on 2.4. Not all devices can connect on 5, and very few, and only the newer devices connect in 6. The 2.4, the advantage of it is the wavelength is longer, so it physically goes farther, and it goes through your house a lot easier. The 5 gigahertz is a shorter frequency, higher frequency, goes through less material, but has more bandwidth. That is, you could actually push more through that pipe of a 5 gigahertz than you can with a 2.4 gigahertz. And then the same thing holds true with the 6 being even higher gigahertz. It's a shorter frequency, goes less of a distance, but will hold more data than the 5 or the 2.4. That kind of breaks it down real simplistically. If someone else wants to discuss that a little further, please do.
There's one other characteristic.
Yes, thank you.
2.4 gigahertz has fewer channels and they overlap a lot more. 5 gigahertz overlaps a lot less, especially in its higher bands, subbands, and there are many more channels. 6 gigahertz can have a lot of channels, and you can use channels simultaneously to get even more throughput.
Yeah, so if you're around gamers, they'll gravitate quite often to the 6 gigahertz.
And if
Okay,
you got a
so
lot of IoT devices, you're probably down at the 2.4 because they don't require a lot of bandwidth, but they do need distance for the pass-through.
right, and that's a very good point. And it's something to consider on your routers and your configurations is as well as your placement of your device so that it's equidistant to the longest distance that the 2.4 is going to have to travel for the IoT devices. That's IoT being Internet of Things. Things like your Ring cameras and doorbells and could be smoke detectors or flood water detectors or something in your house that don't have to send a signal as often, but they need the distance to be able to get to your router. So this chart here says it pretty much the same as what I was saying. And we talk about that. I don't know why they show this cute little picture here. They show a router here in nope, that's a light. I don't know where the router is.
They're showing the range that you will generally get.
Oh, right.
And the fact that you may need to divide your house into zones.
Correct. Thank you. So you use 2.4 for light internet tasks. Although you can watch movies in standard definition as well as high def, meaning like 720p. You can even watch it 1080 on 2.4, although 1080 will start to drop off a little bit. You start losing some frames.
Yeah.
But the 5 gigahertz is optimum for watching any type of streaming. And of course, the 6 gigahertz is even better for that. But the 5 is all you need for streaming.
Yeah.
And so I would suggest that when you set up your system, that when you know you're going to be streaming, those devices should be on the 5 gigahertz if they can. And of course, we discussed before about using Wi-Fi extenders. So how do you know what frequency you're on? and what frequencies you're going to be using.
There are apps for that.
There are apps for that, as well as you can IP address into your router to make changes to it. Generally, but not always, the way to get into it is you'd open up your browser and you'd type in, instead of a URL, you'd type in the following numbers: 192 period 168 period 1 period 1, and hit enter, and that should get you into the login screen for your router. If you've never changed your password, this would be the place you'd enter in admin twice, and it would get you in to the router. Otherwise, you would put in your login name and your password that you have assigned in your router.
Can I just mention, just as a point of information, if you get your equipment, a gateway or just a router or just a modem from your provider, they may redirect the call to that URL instead to their system. I don't know why, but supposedly they feel it's safer, that they can control what you can and can't change on it.
Very true, especially if it's like a cable modem or something like that. Usually they're going to try to control it as much as possible.
I didn't have that before, but a few weeks ago, I mentioned to some of you at a previous meeting, I switched to fiber optic cable, and a lot more change that I thought. So television, a little higher resolution, all of that is good, but in certain respects, a little less control, and that's one of the things.
Okay, all right. So I believe on the bottom of, if it's a rented unit, there may be the IP address for your router to be able to get into the router. Might be printed on the bottom of that device. I'm not familiar with this procedure. Does anyone know, Bob or Harry?
With Comcast, it's almost always 1000 something.
Okay, but the number is printed on the bottom, correct?
They will have a serial number on the bottom. They may have information about the default setup.
Okay.
So if you, on the black list down, if you click on yours, the one that you're actually connected to,
Yeah.
goes up to the next box, and you can click properties. So you go down to your wireless icon in the taskbar. You click on that, it'll bring up all the routers that are available in your wireless area.
Right.
If you click on yours and click on properties on that drop down, you'll see everything about the router itself, including the band and the IP address and the frequency.
Right. So here I did mine, and I shouldn't show
Properties.
that.
Hold on.
Yeah, but it's going to show my MAC address. Yeah. So the physical MAC address, et cetera, et cetera. It shows you what gigahertz you're on, what channel you're on, the speed.
Yeah, in Windows 11, it's the Wi-Fi icon. Your list will come up, and there's a little eye inside of a circle, and if you hover over that, it says properties. That you just simply regular click on it, and then you might want to go back to, it'll say network and internet, Wi-Fi, and the name of your network. Click on the Wi-Fi part of it, and then on your network name properties. And that's where you get to meter connection and all of those.
Okay. So I think one of the things that was in this article was how to change your channels.
Yeah.
They really tell you how to change your channels. They tell you how to change the frequency.
It has to do
They
with,
talk about the channels at all.
it has to do with your logins to the Wi-Fi. You would
Yeah.
have potentially 3 different accounts for the 3 different frequencies. They should all have a different name to give you an idea of what's 2, 5, and 6, and they should all have unique passwords, not the same password.
Okay. This article is talking about frequency, not channels.
That's right. But
Okay.
that's what I'm getting at. Those are 3 different frequencies. I have I have only 2 logins, and I'm either logged into my 5 or I'm logged into my 2.4. If I had a newer router that had 6, I would have a third one, and when I log into it, I can do that, and that's through connections of Wi-Fi. Connections show you a list of all the neighbors as well as your own Wi-Fi logins. And therefore, I can choose whichever one of mine is in the list, log into that, and I'm logged into that frequency.
Sorry to keep interjecting, but just be aware that that's excellent advice. But be aware that sometimes your ISP takes that option away from you. About a year and a half ago down in Florida, I don't know if they changed my gateway. They may have, but even if they didn't, they automatically, believe this or not, change the names of the 2 networks to be the same. And when I called to find out, why do you want me to do that? And I tried to overwrite it to go back to my original 2 different names for exactly the reason that Tim just described. They said, no, because now you have an automatic device and you would be defeating the advantage of having the automatic device. Let the gateway determine which is the best band, and within the band, which is the best channel. Yeah.
Their idea of thinking they've got a better way, and it doesn't always work.
No, I wasn't contradicting you. I'm just saying.
I'm talking about.
I lost that no, you're right, but I lost that option. And then a month ago, here in New York, when I intentionally changed the gateway to because it wasn't coaxial any longer to accommodate the fiber optic, I mentioned to the tech, by the way, how's that going to work? And now I also have an extender. And Bob and someone else at a previous meeting had said, by the way, what you may have now might actually be a mesh system. Not that it matters, but with the extender used to have another name. So there were a total of 3 different names for the extender, network names, for the extender, for the 2.4, for the 5 band. Now all 3 are the same in order not to lose that whole automatic capability. You're shaking your head. I know it wasn't my idea. But
If they want to set it up that way, turn off their router function and provide your own.
Sometimes they set that up on the initial connection from the line inside. So if you got a fiber router that they provide,
yep,
they're going to set it up solid. If you have an internet wireless gateway like I do with T-Mobile, they're going to set up all those parameters to work what's best with their network. And all of that information is typically printed on the back of the route, the hardware, so that they know. So if you've got a regular, I want to say, like a wired network coming in, a cable modem or something like that, where you're providing the thing, you can actually go into the router then, because you're providing it and you have all that permissions. But if they're providing that hardware, then they have the control.
I believe
so you may not have all those options.
You're right, 100% correct. Yeah. For the time being, I want to leave it exactly the way they installed it for a few months, and then I can begin to make informed decisions. since I've lived with it, this works, this doesn't work. If I make too many changes too early, I may introduce problems and end up regretting it. But your advice, of course, is right on target.
One thing you can also do, you can turn off their Wi-Fi completely and do a wired connection to your own router.
And set up your Wi-Fi your way.
Yeah.
And then you've got your Wi-Fi however you want it. And the other name that is pretty similar to a mesh network node is an access point.
Right. Access points are the original name that, and usually they're set up as a pass-through, so that you don't usually even see the devices unless you're looking at key areas of the network control. So by and large, a repeater that may show up, but an access point usually does not, because it's a pass-through signal. It's using the same signal that came in from the previous radio and sends it out the same way, so that it looks like one long.
I believe that's
radio
what I now have. The extender that they put in now, I believe, works the way, Tim, the way you just described. Mine, which was only a 2.4, where this is both 2.4 and 5. I mean, I could have bought a new one, but like I said, since this was going to be a sea change of change, I said let them do everything. And the only thing, as I mentioned a few months ago, that I didn't realize was that I was giving up the separate nature of the television, that the television is now an app. So if my internet service goes out, I lose all three. I lose the telephone, the television, and the internet service. My fault. I didn't know that when I researched it. I didn't see it. And the other thing may be trivial, but my wife loves the caller ID. She doesn't have to get up to the phone. She can see on the television. Well, not anymore. And they said, yeah, they're working on it, but their fiber optic system doesn't have that.
Well, I think you can get phones that'll do caller ID.
Yeah, but his showed up right on the TV.
Showed at the top of the screen.
Yeah.
That was a nice feature that they took away from you.
Yeah, my wife wanted to know how I was going to compensate for that. So I don't have I told her what they told me. We're working on it. In the future edition, it'll be there. So far, she's accepted it because she's a nice person.
Okay, shall we go into a new topic that's on the list? Oh, there's a lot of stuff in there. There's got to be somebody's got something in there what they want to.
How about the thing about passkeys?
Passkeys. Okay, let me find that one about passkeys. Word secure, strong passwords.
One thing I found out is that passkeys are only for things you do on the web. They are not for local accounts.
Right. But that's the whole idea. Your online accounts. So many people are so bad at creating good, secure passwords. In a sense, they're saying, we give up on passwords for the online accounts. We'll create this passkey. When you connect to that account, it generates a passkey for you, and then you can use a device to, like your phone or a tablet to log in.
Now, if you use a Microsoft Cloud login on your local device, that will behave in the same way as something on the web, and that would use passkeys.
Right.
But if you have a true local account, that won't use them.
Right.
Okay, so what are passkeys? Someone want to discuss what they are?
They're generated.
You know, we can read this right in front of us.
They're generated code It's a two-part code, and if you understand a little bit about true Versa, or it's a
Veracrypt.
Veracrypt. It has a two-part, a public key and a private key. Well, in a
Yep.
sense, all your online accounts, or at least the major ones like financial, your drugstore, and probably your grocery store, etc., Amazon, so forth, are using passkeys. They generate the two keys, and they give you one, and they have one, and either through a password manager on a computer or a smartphone, or through a cloud account, you can use the pass keys from those management programs that used to use it for password. And if you, for some reason, have a problem with a passkey, you can usually request the online account to generate a new passkey, get that information, and you save it to wherever you're normally saving your passwords to. But if you are still using sticky notes or writing down a journal of all your passwords and stuff like that for your sites, good luck with passkeys.
Okay, so there's no problem with using different devices to log into your account with
Right.
passkeys, correct?
Correct. If you want to, you can just use your smartphone, or you can just use a tablet, or you can use your computer. And if you've got password managers on those, as an example, Bitwarden, LastPass, 1Password, etc., those are now designed to save the passkey that you get from each site, and we'll use that instead of the password.
Any other questions about passkeys?
A lot of times on those sites, if you're using it for, let's say you use your desktop all the time and you go to log into the site with your smartphone or something like that, or a different device, a different PC, the company that you're trying to log into will send you a challenge code that you've got to type in to recognize your machine before they'll let you through. Banks do this, credit card companies do this. A lot of sites that handle financials do that. If you go, even if your machine reboots, sometimes it requires you to answer the challenge questions. But
Well, some sites are doing challenges periodically, no matter what, especially the financial ones, just to make certain it's always you and not somebody else somehow using your equipment, or being a hacker getting into your account and not knowing, say, the answer to security questions.
or not having the telephone that they got the
Right,
cell phone got a text,
right.
the pin number that they're requiring.
Do you need to do anything special to make this passkeys work?
Nope.
Is this automatic now?
Well, you do
No,
have to
it's
set
not
them up.
automatic. You go to each of your accounts. If you don't have a passkey set up, you got to have a password to get in. But they give you an option screen that says you want to set up a passkey. You either click yes or not now.
So how do we set up passkey in our computer? Are we supposed to, there's this part here rolled that you could set it up in your, let me see if this does this. What does this do? Anything? Introduces passkeys for consumers. Do we have to set this up on our PCs?
You would have to do that.
You
Okay.
can. You got to look at it this way. A smartphone is a computer. A tablet is a computer. A laptop is a computer. A desktop is a computer. They're all computers, and you can have them set up with the passkey.
Okay,
But again, if you're going to use a passkey for your device, you have to be logging in using your Microsoft account. After that, you can switch.
okay.
Now, I've got only one set up so far, and I don't have it set up with Microsoft, so it's not in the cloud, and it's with one of the pharmacies that I use, and I've got the passkey, and I can use it on my devices as long as I have access to where I saved it.
What you're doing there is basically, say it's a phone where you saved it. You're using the phone as a cloud account.
Yes, but also that's only if I use it as a phone. I can, like I said, with like Warden, LastPass, 1Password, etc. Those will also save passkeys. In
Yeah.
fact, almost all of them will at this point in time because so many people are adopting it.
Yeah, and if it's saved in that way, that can operate on your local.
Right.
That can operate on your local device.
Right. And that's the way I got mine set up, so that I can be on a local account like the admin account, and I still have my passkey access.
Yeah.
If I did it through the cloud, then I'm a dead meat if I want to be on the admin account and I have to access an online account that requires a passkey. Unless I have an alternate device that is also accepted to be logged in, such as possibly a phone or a tablet. So there's pluses and minuses to using the cloud for various things. One of your things on your invite, Sanford, was about file history backup. And it sounds like a great idea, but with 5 gigabytes, depending on the number of machines you have, that can start becoming a problem. Or if you're very prolific with lots of pictures or movies or other things like that, you'll fill up 5 gigs and nothing flat.
Now you're talking 5 gigs that OneDrive
That's right.
gives you?
Unless
Right.
you get Microsoft 365 or you buy additional storage for OneDrive, which is also doable.
And history only works with OneDrive, correct?
You could do it on a local drive.
Yeah,
You
file
could.
history can be on the local drive, but it's going to also be, you better have a lot of space somewhere. Otherwise, you may be coming up short at some point in time, not having enough space because you're using it for this other function.
It's
Yeah,
kind
you
of like doing a backup. You need a lot of space to do backups.
That's right. And these are copies. These are copies. These are not compressed images.
Yeah, so it tends to be even bigger than a system backup. But with drives running around 8 terabytes and even 12 terabytes, not uncommon for desktop drives, you could dedicate one of those.
You could easily dedicate. Drives are cheap. Storage.
Well, not terribly cheap, but they're cheap per gigabyte.
Right. Thank you.
I just bought 3 8 terabyte drives, and it cost me between $450 and $500.
When you have a drive with 8 terabyte capacity, do you plan to use much of that? I mean, the rule of thumb to not use more than 50%, is that old fashioned or does that still apply?
That's
On mechanical hard drives, you can get up to within 10% if you want to defrag, and even 5% is not too full. I literally filled up my existing 8 terabyte drives to probably 90 to 95% of their capacity before I bought new ones.
I'm with you on that. Filled up my 8s, filled up my 12s, moved up to a 14. So, it just,
And
I-
those are not duplicates. Those are all original or photo copies of originals.
right.
I have 3 separate drives which are duplicates, triplicates of each other, but on any one drive, each backup, at least for data, which would include pictures, documents, and emails, each data backup is in a monthly or weekly folder. So, yeah, there's a lot of folders in there.
But the 8, I don't want to meddle in your
Yeah.
private business. I want to be
Yeah.
very careful here. The 8 gig or the
8 terabyte.
terabytes or close to it are all originals. They're not incremental backups. So you don't have 1
No.
terabyte from last week's backup and another from 2 weeks ago's backup. Is that correct?
If I were doing that, I would retire them every couple of weeks anyway.
Okay.
At the very least once a month. I do monthly system backups and I retire them after about a year. Because who's going to go back a year? I went back 2 months today. That's as far back as I've gone in a long time.
But you had to do a lot of work to get back from that backup from 2 months ago to,
Actually, no. Within a couple of hours, I was back.
I meant
see-
you had more files you had to restore because you had to do that point and then everything from that point forward, right?
Not really, because I don't rely on my system backups to back up my data.
Okay.
My data will be all the data from a particular device. It will be in my monthly folder. So I can go back a certain number of months or years with each data backup, and it's pretty far back. So there's not a need to put this one back, then that one, then the other, then the other. I only have to put back one. And with software, it's almost automatic. And it can be quite automatic if you use the Winget and the Winget with the GUI. Those repositories have like about 6,000 titles in them. And they're kept up to date by the developers. That's the whole Winget system. So there is such a thing as a one-stop shop in Windows for your software.
Okay, we got another topic. Someone want to pick another topic? Brad, you see something in there?
I had a question. It's a stupid question. Forgive me.
Never stupid.
One of the topics was about your computer running slow.
Yeah.
And so, my computer suffers from running slow occasionally, but my dumb question is, how much does your computer RAM figure into that? Because when I look at my RAM, it's like 90% full.
Ah,
Now wait a minute. How much total RAM do you have?
8.
8?
Yeah.
And you're using 90% right now?
Yes.
That's a problem. You've got too much going on your system right now with Zoom also in there. You probably got a browser going as well. And depending on what browser you're using, that may take up a lot of capacity like Zoom. And there are other pieces of software of the operating system that are also running, including making your picture appear on the screen. Anything
Sure.
that appears on the screen is done in software unless you have a dedicated graphical processing unit with its own discrete memory. And also you have audio that can be software decoded also, and that's taken up some space. All these things are asking for your same 8 gigs just like that, and that can't happen. They've got one does a little bit, another one does a little bit, and so on and so forth, but you can end up freezing up. You can even have Zoom crash, etc.
All right, so let's help Brad figure out this problem here.
So I've gone in, so, just because you did mention browsers, I went into the task manager and kind of turned some things off at startup.
Go
Because,
Okay.
the big problem is everything just boots so slowly.
Go to the
Um,
performance tab.
Okay.
This is
Right.
your computer in a nutshell. CPU is documented. There's memory. He's got 12 gigabytes versus 8. His CD, which is drive C, which is an SSD, Wi-Fi, and he's got a GPO, but that does not have dedicated memory. That's using shared memory.
Okay, so in terms of raw memory, I'm using 7 out of the 12.
Right.
And this kind of reflects back similar to what Brad is doing. He's doing 7 out of the 8.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so if
That's pretty normal for Windows.
right, that's
Okay,
pretty,
and that's what I was thinking.
There are background processes which can be limited, but 8 gig is considered limited RAM these days.
Brad, it's not normal for Windows unless you're also running Zoom. If you're not running Zoom, that'll probably drop down to 40%.
right. Zoom is using up quite a bit, but
Mhm.
so we've got on here some of the things that you could turn off if you're not using, like I have iCloud loaded on my machine, but I'm not using it. That's an Apple product. You could disable
Right.
that, especially if you put iTunes on your machine, it wants to use iCloud. However, this is a choice because iCloud does sync your photos and your content across your Apple devices. So if you want to continue using that with your PC, you want to leave it enabled, but I don't.
But knowing that, I mean, you can just go in and turn it on and then sync your phone and, all your photos and stuff and then turn it off, right? I mean, it's an extra step, but it works.
Yeah, yes, 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 yes. So at least you started in the right place. You knew to go to Task Manager and go to Startup and disable some of the devices in there. That's you're very smart on this, Brad. I don't think this was a stupid question. This is a great
Well,
question.
Well,
part
the
part
other
of the
thing,
question,
for the startup tab, all you're doing is preventing those software items from impacting boot up of the computer.
right.
However, most of them can be turned off and you still can use whatever that item is anytime you want to. Not a
Right.
joke.
Okay, so part two of the question is, no, I think, I came to the conclusion a couple months ago that 8 RAM was probably, undersized for current running a security software and Windows 11 and all sorts of other things. And so I did go out and I bought a card to extend that. I guess right now I'm just debating whether I want to open up my computer and swap cards and figure out what that's going to do, when I try and restart everything.
Is this a desktop or laptop?
It's a laptop.
Okay. You only have at most 2 cards. Okay.
Mhm.
And if you take the new one, which I assume is the biggest, I would take all the memory in there out first, put that new one in as the bottom one, start up your computer, see what happens. It should work fine. Then shut it down again. Take one of those other memory modules, put it in as the top one, and you'll have a multi-stack, like possibly 12 gigabytes. Because I'm assuming you got 2 4s right now, and the new one you got is probably an 8.
And Brad, if you need help doing this, I'm available.
All right, thanks.
Okay, and I'll come over and help you do that. No problem.
I do that.
Well, actually, my thinking was, I have an old HP computer and I thought I'd get that. I had to replace the hard drive on that. So I've done that. That was a long time ago. I thought I'd get that up and running before I go ahead and start messing with the computer I use every day.
Yeah. But
Download some of my
changing the
data
memory
there.
out is relatively easy to do.
Yeah,
It just, on laptops, it depends if they made it easily accessible or did they make it hard?
right.
Meaning you have to take all the screws off the bottom off to do
A
it.
lot of the new ones, because of the new battery style, are harder to do. Old ones are easier to do.
Old ones, they used to have a slot where you actually, a door. You
Right.
opened the door and there it was.
That's right.
The newer ones, you got to take the whole back off to
That's
do it.
right.
Still
Or-
not a problem, Brad. I'll help you do this.
Or you've got to take off the screws. The bottom stays intact, and you got to lift up the
Keyboard.
palm rest and
Yeah.
keyboard, and then get to it.
Yeah.
Pain in the
Pete
butt.
said he'd fly out here to help you do this too, but
I'll feed him lunch.
Pete couldn't find an open airfare to get over here cheap, so he's going to have to decline.
Or,
You're muted, we can't.
just he could have just sent me the ticket and I would have flown out there.
Well, the other thing too now, Brad, if you do venture into doing that, make sure you have a proper tool set for the tiny screws that are used in there. That's very important, otherwise you'll screw them up.
I got
There used
those.
to be at Walmart in the hardware section a nice small kit of tiny adapters with a screwdriver and a flex cable. And I don't use the flex cable because it's a pain in the butt, but it's the right thing for working on laptops, phones, and tablets.
I thought they referenced using plastic screwdrivers and things like that in the one YouTube video I watched, but I don't remember exactly. So, but
Plastic is used for opening cases where you don't want to use metal because of the possibility of damage.
Yes.
There are two companies that I know of where their toolkits are pretty good. The more expensive one is iFixit, and the other one is Stribito, which is available on Amazon.
okay.
Yeah, there's a cute little device that's used on smartphones and tablets. It looks like a guitar pick. It's triangular shaped, and those are great for opening up laptop sides. Because what they do is your palm rest with keyboard and the bottom have little snaps in them, and what you're trying to do is avoid breaking those off. You break off too many and it's real loose fitting.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they may not use screws. They may do like they do on cell phones, which are snapped together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
for that, you use something called a spudger.
Right. Thank you. Spudger tool.
Uh-oh. Hey, thank you very much, guys.
You're welcome. All right.
They're both plastic and metal spudgers. And somebody thinks that's a hilarious word.
Oh, my wife is watching the debates.
Oh, it's that hilarious, huh?
Oh, she's busted.
Maybe we're missing something.
We're missing something. She just okay. Anyways, it's new question, new direction for my topics I sent out. Okay. I think we went through some good stuff here so far. So we went.
Since we're doing things about hardware, there's also one about why is your PC overheating?
Okay.
Boy, is that multi-pronged.
Let me first look at this real quick.
And also there's a related one about high CPU usage. We were talking about RAM usage. There's also CPU usage, so we can put that in the queue.
Okay.
But let's start with the overheating.
Overheating. Let me first find it. I was looking for something else.
Fourth one down. from the top.
Fourth one down. Let me go back up to the top. 2, 3. Overheating. There we
This
go.
time I'm right.
Okay. Yeah, my laptop often runs at high heat every now and then, and I couldn't always figure out. It's like
Oh.
usually a rogue program or something is
Well,
running.
there are multiple possibilities. I can think of 3 right off the top of my head.
So it tells us here some of the things that could be causing it. Number 2 is one thing that I usually have, an unresponsive application. I think I'll get something that hangs and it's just consuming cycles like crazy. Too many browser tabs open. I think Tim finds that all the time because he's
No,
always got a lot of
I
tabs.
don't. I don't have that problem. I have a different way of addressing it.
You
Okay.
can get browser tabs that are not active to snooze.
Right.
Hmm.
Defective fans, that Nux that I worked on for the neighbor had a defective fan. That caused overheating shutdown.
Yeah.
Blocked vents, usually that's on laptops. People don't recognize that some of the machines have a bottom intake air vent. And if it's on their lap, it may be on the leg and it's blocking those vents. Or B, you have too much lint or dust clogging them up. Periodically, you got to check them and clean them out. Some viruses and malware, yes, will do it. Overheated CPU and GPU. Usually what that will amount to is the thermal paste on those chips between the heatsink and the CPU or GPU chip has dried out. And it has to be cleaned off and new thermal paste compound put on, and it corrects the problem.
Hmm.
And if you get too much dust, if you got pets like I do, animal hair is prolific. You really can go bananas.
So a good can of air, compressed air, or one of these blower fans that work really well.
Yeah, be careful not to put that, not to shoot that directly into a fan, though.
Right.
Yeah, that's bad for the fan.
Reapply the thermal paste, as Tim said.
I've had thermal paste before problems. I've had dead fans that weren't working. I've had too many processes running at a time, which Brad could have going on in his system, even though it's mostly memory tied up. He could still have too many processes going that if he can remove some of those processes, he would probably drop down his RAM utilization.
What a lot of people don't realize about both Edge and Chrome by default, they don't really shut down when you close them.
That's
They're
correct.
not shut down.
Correct.
LibreOffice is that way too. It fires up and then it doesn't shut down because they want you to think that it'll come back up really quickly.
Yes, and it's a fake thing, but a lot of people fall for it. In Chrome, Edge, and any other Chromium-based browser, go into settings, go down to system, and there's a switch there that you can switch off of leaving it in memory. If it's turned off, it will remove itself completely from memory when you close down the browser.
Also in Windows 11 and to some extent Windows 10, any apps that you have running, make sure they're set not to keep on running in the background.
Right. It's harder to do in 11 because of changes they made to how background processes may be turned on and turned off. 10 was very, very easy. You had one thing, you could turn off all background processes, that's it. In 11, you got to go to the apps setting, and you have to go through each and every one looking for an advanced option that can
Yeah.
give you that ability to turn off background processing.
Isn't that what years ago they used to call TSR, terminate but stay resident?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yep.
those are the old DOS days.
that's right.
Yep.
I said the old days.
The other thing that they recommend is getting rid of your temporary files, which means you have either CCleaner or some other, whatever your favorite cleanup app is, and run it once in a while.
I actually do use BleachBit not only on Linux, I use it on Windows. And two systems that I haven't cleaned up in a while that I got nearly 2 gigabytes of space back just with BleachBit alone.
And those files may represent processes that are running.
Nope. Everything kept running just perfectly fine.
So one of the things you could do is you can clean up your hard drive, correct?
Yeah.
Using the Windows tool that's
Yes.
available.
PC Manager is the new
Yeah.
one that will give you a combination of the old cleanup utility as well as other many new features that were scattered all over the place in Windows. And it's now under one utility.
Yeah. That is a very handy little tool.
And
Does anyone here not know how to clean up their hard drive?
By the way, and one of the key things about using PC Manager or the old cleanup tool that's been in Windows going back to at least Windows 3 or older, when you do an upgrade, like from 22H2 to 23H2 on 11, or the upcoming 24H2 for 11, it leaves a lot of garbage sitting there on your system. And I have seen some systems that have given me back, by doing the right cleanup, as much as 30 plus gigabytes of space.
All right, so I was going to show how to use the cleanup process here. If you find your C drive and then go to properties, and then I'm assuming you could see the screen that says
No, we can't see the screen, and you're using the actual old tool.
sorry. Well, this is the tool I'm using.
The PC Manager is in Microsoft's download.
All right, right here.
That's the old cleanup.
Okay, but this is the tool I decided to use.
And this is a two-step process.
Right.
Not
So
a
if you
one
go
step.
here, if you go here, I know there's a better tool, but I'm using this tool right now. So if you go to properties under your PC, you've got this screen right here that says disk cleanup. You click on that, and there it can just go ahead and recover. It shows me it'll recover over 2.73 gig, 2 3/4 gigs. And then if I choose cleanup system files, it'll
We
take
aren't seeing your pop-up.
Oh,
Yeah. It won't show the pop-up.
it won't show the pop-up. Oh, well, I can't do that then. But it didn't show this pop-up, does it?
No.
Nope.
No. All right. Well, it would have showed that if I cleaned up system files, it would clean up almost 10 gigs.
Right. And that's because of an upgrade that you did in the past, and it left a big chunk of stuff out there so you could roll back in
Right.
the first 10 days after the upgrade. After that, it's garbage.
So the thing about discussion about disk cleanup and the reason to use it is because the more clutter there is on your hard drive, the slower it runs. Even on an SSD, it still has to sift through all those files that are on there. And the more your hard drive fills up, the slower your system can become. This will go back to what Harry was talking about, Harry Hauser, about your hard drives running them at 80, 90%. Is that going to be a problem? It can be if it's your C drive and your C drive is running to maximum fullness. That can
Well,
slow down your PC.
if it's the C drive at 65%, once you start going past that 65%, it will begin slowing down. And the fuller it gets, the slower it gets, because there is what's called shadow copies of things you can't see in that empty area on drive C, because that's your your boot drive. Whereas when you go up to like 99%, that's a data drive you're not booting from. But 65% is the magic number. And as long as you stay 65% or under, it won't slow down your system. But as you get past it, that's when you start slowing down even
Didn't
more.
realize that distinction. Okay, got it.
Right.
Thank you.
Because it's trying to manipulate too much stuff. You got your page file out there, you got the shadow copying going on, and some other temporary work areas that both the operating system and your programs are constantly making, and they don't always get rid of it when they're done with it.
Okay. Any other we got anybody else want to pick something out of my topics? Harry Nelson, I haven't heard from you.
He went to sleep.
I hope not.
I have one other question,
Okay.
and it's on your topics as, how to create a strong password. And I've read enough things to know that to create a strong password, you need 12 digits and all that. So my question really isn't about creating a strong password, but it goes back to something that was said earlier about password managers. I'm a little leery about password managers, and the reason is because with everything being hacked these days, how can I ever be sure somebody couldn't hack a password manager?
Okay. I already have a password manager. It's been hacked 2 or 3 times, and I don't give a damn. Why? Because
Yeah.
when you create a new online account that goes into the password manager, it's encrypted on your machine right then and there, and a copy of only the encrypted information is sent to the cloud account. So that means when they hack that password manager's server, all they're getting is your encrypted vault. Now, if you have a lousy passphrase on your password vault, then they're going to break into that, and they've got access to everything. If they cannot break your code easily without a supercomputer, then you're completely safe. And I haven't had a problem in LastPass is the one that's been hacked 2 or 3 times. And I haven't had a problem with losing any of my information due to the hack.
So the subsequent passwords that you have, that is passwords to your bank account, your
Right.
credit cards or whatever, those are kept on your local machine?
No. They're on the cloud. But when I create the account the first time, your computer will encrypt all that information and send a copy to the cloud.
In the encrypted format.
Right.
Okay. All right.
And that's all that's up there is encrypted stuff. You have
Okay.
to have the proper passphrase to decrypt all that information so you can use it on any computer.
And your
Okay.
passphrase stays on your unit.
Well, a passphrase, not a password. A password usually indicates, like Brad said, like 12 characters. I long ago went to 16, and I'm up to 20 in the last 5 years. But bottom line is a passphrase. Mary had a little lamb is
I
a
misspoke.
phrase.
I apologize. I misspoke. What I was getting at is from your description about what goes up to the cloud and is encrypted.
It's
Does
all
not, do I understand correctly, does not include your password to access the vault, that stays with you.
Well, it's never encrypted no matter what. And that's why every one of the password managers will tell you, if you forget that passphrase, you're out of luck possibly. And that's
Right.
because
But is
it's
that
not
going,
up on the cloud. It's nowhere on the cloud.
that's what the security comes in. Okay. Okay. Got it.
Brad, does that help?
I think so. I don't know if it makes me feel comfortable in that, but I think so.
Oh, I still use LastPass, but they've restricted what I can do with it. I used to have it on every machine. Now I use Warden for the majority of machines, and a couple of machines I still use LastPass on as well. And I haven't had a problem with that. If you're still leery about it, look into KeyPass XC. That you can make a flash drive as your vault instead of a cloud.
Okay.
By the way, I have open on my desktop the two cleanup tools, PC Manager's version and the traditional version. Because they are open as windows on my desktop, you might be able to see them.
Yeah,
Go ahead, share.
we can share the desktop now, which we couldn't in August. I mean, in July.
So if we want, we can circle back to that unless we're still on this topic
ahead.
and need more.
Go ahead. Brad, do you have more questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to share my whole screen. And can everybody see where my two windows are here?
Yep.
This is the traditional one, and it's telling me how much I could save. There's 2.15 gigabytes right now in device driver packages because I just had to roll back and redo some stuff. And there aren't very many temporary files, but there's quite a lot of stuff in there. Now, PC Manager's version allows me to check off some more stuff and get 2.3 gigabytes. And that is mostly those driver device packages. So I could also do prefetch. I could also do delivery optimization, which is Windows Update. And I could do the upgrade installation files. I haven't done a feature upgrade lately, so there isn't a lot in there. And the device driver package, 2.2 gigabyte. That's where I'll save the space. So this is all in one place. And if you want to go to the home screen, this boost, I don't know what it does, but it does some stuff.
It cleans up some stuff in memory in order to make things a little quicker if you're tight on a memory.
Yeah, most of this comes back though. The place where you really get it is in the deep cleanup.
Right.
Which is right here. I have Firefox cache and all kinds of other stuff. So you caught me at a good moment. I have a lot of stuff that could be cleaned. And then just for contrast, here's CCleaner coming up, showing us the kinds of things that it could clean. Oh, did I just close Chrome? I don't want to close Zoom. Okay, I did close Chrome, but I can reopen it. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff in there. So that's what CCleaner does. And I can get rid of that, come on.
Yeah, that thing gets
Hide.
in the way.
There. Now I'm going to have to log back into my email, but who cares? I will stop the share. That's what that looks like.
And the PC Manager is the modern thing. They came out with that, I think it was last year. And
Yeah.
I had presented it a couple different times in different groups. But it's a nicer tool because it used to be a half a dozen or more different utilities scattered everywhere. And if you were using the old control panel, you were jumping here, there, and everywhere to get all those areas cleaned up. This put it finally, after 20 years or more, into one single application.
Okay. So I'm back in my email. There
Hope
we
that
are.
was assistance for everybody. Is there any other last questions for the group for tonight? If not, I will
And
conclude.
yeah,
Um,
eventually at some meeting, we might want to cover high CPU usage and what that's all about.
Recording stopped.
Okay.